First of all, apologies if any part of me disappears into the background, but my comfort and warmth overrode the green screen making sense. So let's talk about Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez, who co-wrote it with Rodo Sayagüez, and of course based upon characters created by Dan O'Bannon and Ron Shusett. This stars Kaylee Spaney, and I've looked that up, apparently that is the proper pronunciation, David Johnson, Archie Renault, and Isabella Mathed. And I wished I'd have seen this in the cinema. I thought, I really do think it would have been a great experience to see it on the big screen, because even just sat here, I was tense at the right moments, I was invested in the right moments, I was just drawn along with the story. At the start, I really didn't like Bjorn, for one, and that's by design. But of course, you're meant to like characters like Kay and of course Rain and Andy. And I do want to really give a big hat tip here to David Johnson's performance as Andy, because when we first meet him, I was like, oh, is this like some Hollywood bringing in neurodivergent character thing? Could it go really badly like in The Predator? But then it was like, no, he's a defective Wei-Yu robot. Well, synth, artificial person, as he likes to call himself. And his name comes from his serial code, ND255. But once he gets an upgrade later on, it's a very different performance. He's a lot more controlled, he's a lot more able to function. He's not sort of stumbling through. And, like I say, selling that through, yes, the vocal performance, obviously sounding a lot more confident, less hesitation, less stammering, that kind of thing. But also the physical presence. It was moving with determination. And he's obviously looked back at Ian Holm's performance as Ash, at Michael Fassbender most recently. Don't know if there's elements of Bishop necessarily, Lance Henriksen in there, but still, he's obviously taken a lot of these things on board and used them to inform his performance, and I think it was really well done. And like I say, Kaylee Spaney is great as Rain. She's very sympathetic. You do want to see what happens to her. You do want the best for her. You do want her to survive. And the twists and turns that the plot takes, bringing in certain elements that we might have been familiar with from way back, but then also bringing in things that perhaps are more new to the franchise. We have elements that feel like they've been lifted from almost everything. I can see elements of Aliens, Alien 3 possibly less so, but there's a couple of Alien Resurrection-y bits in my brain here that kind of work. The idea of like 3D printing kind of feels like the cloning. It's that science gone too far. We even have, obviously, it does have ties to the Prometheus and Covenant storyline. There's even elements of Alien Isolation kind of coming through. And what that means is this feels very much like a love letter to Alien as a franchise, as a series. It's similar to what he did with Evil Dead. I wasn't perhaps as enthused about that as I am with this, but I still saw positives to it, and I could tell that it came from a place of love for the series. And I really did enjoy this. I thought it was a really good entry, and I want to see what moves forward. This is what fans were after from Prometheus and Covenant. And like I say, yeah, it folds in the black goo. It makes sense now. One of the hard things to do is do what perhaps you might call a midquel, or to borrow from the Borderlands series, a pre-sequel, where it kind of fits between the first entry and later ones. Because you've got to make sure that you're not making the stuff that technically on its own timeline happened later not make sense. You want to make sure that it does follow through, that this is a logical bit in the middle that we just didn't see previously. It's not something that's completely rewriting history. I think this is a really good entry, and yeah, whatever's coming next, I am so happy for. I do want to give one negative, but as I like to do, I will end on something very positive. So we've seen issues with the Cushing estate kind of semi-recently, a couple of months or so back, suing Disney. And apparently the estate of Ian Holm was fine with this, but it is the thing of, should we resurrect actors? I don't think it's 100% necessary. You could have had a different model to be Rook. It didn't have to be Ian Holm. And to be honest, some of the CG mapping onto the puppetry, etc., and some of the facial performance, by the actor Daniel Betts as well, like he did facilitate some of that. It still looked quite unsettling. It was that uncanny valley. It's not quite right. There were some shots that were brilliantly done. I thought, it really worked. Most of the time when it was on, a screen, so there was a filter over it or in shadow. But when it was front and centre, it was a bit ropey. I don't think that it necessarily needed it. So I did say I'd end on a positive, and I'm going to kind of do two because I think it'll really undo the negatives that came before. But Robert Brobrovsky, and I'm pronouncing that terribly, I know that part of the world is difficult for me. It's one of my blind spots. But the guy playing the Offspring, I thought they were doing it. I thought, it was enhanced to look a bit more like Ian Weiss as the Last Engineer in Prometheus, that kind of thing. But no, that is pretty much what the guy looks like. Obviously not the big spindly limbs and weird vent things at the back, but the human performance underpinning it, you can tell a human was involved. And same with the Xenomorph performance as well, Trevor Newlin. Both really great physical performers who were then enhanced to, that's what we should use. I think that's why the Ian Holm thing stands out a lot. It's using the practical, it's using people in suits as much as you can, and enhancing or doing things that can't be done when you have to. And yeah, that is the second positive, the fact that they've leaned on practical effects. A lot of the facehuggers were practical, and some of them, if you're looking closely, you can tell it's just like a little puppet with maybe like an RC car or something underneath, to move. But it doesn't matter because it feels real in a sense. It's in the room, it's in the space with them. The actors are having something to physically respond and react to, and that makes a big difference. So like I say, Alien Romulus, great entry, great use of practical and enhancing it where you needed with computer effects, and this could be where the franchise moves forward now, and I do want to see that. So thank you very much for letting me talk about this. I should probably talk about the rest of the Alien series at some point. It's something I do enjoy. So if you do want that, leave a comment. But otherwise, yeah, until next time, take care.